Hello and welcome to the third of these little videos about making lino cuts on the Xcut XPress. At the end of the second one we got as far as actually transferring or setting up the form on the long bed with its 3 turns Burton pins and a pile of paper ready to start printing, all tabbed with a set of 3 turns Burton tabs. We transferred the image from the key block onto a second block, which I have in the meantime continued to work on and carved the text, proofed it, the second block, and as you can see needed some cleaning up, which I've now done, and we're ready to carry on. I've also decided for this print that I needed a third block, which is a very simple one, made in the same way as this by transferring the image from the key block onto a second one, and this is just for the background, and I've just done a quick check that it will fit. But before we go any further with that, I wanted to talk a little bit more about this one that we saw in the second video as well, which was where I was talking about printing without a mounted board onto ordinary grey artist lino. The form is made in the same way, but this time just with mount board, cardboard, slightly thinner than the lino, but again the form fits exactly to the block. So what I did with this is to make a reduction lino using registration tabs, rather than registration stops, I should say, rather than the tabs and pins. So I've made a little reduction print, and I thought you'd like to see that it's quite feasible on the Xcut XPress to print without backed mounted board, without turns Burton pins, just with ordinary grey lino. So a reduction print obviously has to have perfect register from one sheet to another, because we're just using the one block of lino, printing the first colour, cutting away, printing the next colour, cutting some more away. So I've got on with that. The first print from the block was a slight blend. Don't call it rainbow roll, please. It's a blend of colour. I'll show you more of that later on. The second one, having cut away some of that block, printed like that, on top of each other. They give us that, and then I've cut away the last part of the block, again a little blend, which I'm now going to print just to prove the point that registration is quite feasible on the Xcut with the simplest of materials. So, little mask there, as I've indicated before, that just helps keep the background area clean. The ink again I'm using is Caligo Safe Wash, which I like, and I don't personally have any problem with squeaky roller. I don't personally have any problem with the drying of this ink, and in a subsequent video I'll show you how I get around some of the problems of printing wet on wet. As I said before, this isn't a video about how to make lino cuts, it's specifically about the Xcut XPress. So onward. Again, you can see it's a little blend. I'll have to oil this roller. So I've got a slightly darker colour on the head than on the reflection. Keeping the blend the same from print to print, the little mask comes over. And then the registration system here is simply 3 card tabs, thin plastic in this case, registering each sheet of paper exactly into those tabs, into those stops. It comes down carefully. Now, what I tend to do as well is to use just a little tape on the leading edge, the edge that's going to be pushed by the rollers, just to hold it in position, give me a little bit of confidence when I put the blanket down. Just ordinary 3mm craft felt as a blanket is fine. Onto the bed of the press. Previously set, the pressure here is about 5.4 for this particular sandwich, using the board that comes with the Xcut. And there's the little print finished, I think. So I'm going to go ahead now and print the rest of these, and then we'll come back and talk some more about the hair print. Right, that's the little otter print finished. What I'm going to do now is to continue with the process of completing this names of the hair print. There are 3 blocks, as we've established. We've got our form set up and ready with its pins and our paper all tabbed up. I've reset the pressure to what I know is right now, because I've proved it at about 9.5 on the dial. I'm using the slightly thicker felt. The plan is to have a simple blue background which will be printed first. The text and the background of the hair will be printed next. That'll be a 2-stage reduction. So I'll print the whole thing in one colour, probably remove the text altogether from the block, cut a little bit more of this central part of the hair out and print a second colour from that block, almost like a reduction. And then the key block will probably also be a 2-stage reduction, which will draw the whole thing together. So I'm going to first of all just crack on with the background. I'm doing a slight blend in the background, sky blue if you like. Now I haven't got a roller that's the right size for this block. My smaller rollers are just a little bit too small, so I'm going to have to use a big roller, but it makes a point that you can get by with basic equipment. The blend, I don't know if the camera can see, the blend is Caligo Safe wash with about something like 95% extender in the pale blue, and somewhat less with the darker blue. And it's simply a matter of keeping the blend consistent from print to print, deciding where on the image the graduation should appear, and then with this particular very thin ink, trying to make sure that I get consistency from print to print, but also that I don't pick up the edges and repeat them as stripes. I've made a little mask, as always, so all that background ink that one gets with the wrong size roller doesn't really matter. So remembering that we've got 3 Turns-Burton tabs to click on, just to save any twist. This 3rd tab helps to save any twist as the print goes through the roller. With a little image like this, doesn't really matter that much. With a very long one, it could be vital. So onto the turns Burton pins. Blanket on top. Now, not only have I got reduced ink, I've also made sure that the pressure is fairly light here, because all I want is just a sort of a watercolour background. So there isn't a lot of pressure on that press now, just enough to kiss the ink onto the surface. So there's my background blend. That's fine, that's good. I'm going to put that to one side, and then each print can be compared to that as I go through the edition pile. So once more, I'm going to crack on with that, and I'll be back in a minute. So that's the blue background put onto all of the sheets in the edition. I've now got the second block in place. I'm going to put the first colour on, then remove some of the plate, some of the text, and print a second colour from this block. So the first colour going on is just a gold yellow. Not too much ink. I just want some bright background colour. Little mask comes over again, and away we go. Same pressure as before. Feels a little bit stiffer because it's a bigger area of block that's printing. So I've got to trust now that the registration system of the turns, Burton pins and tabs will keep the relationship of the blue to the gold to the final key block. So I'll carry on with those now and come back later. Okay. Having put the first colour on from the second block on all of the edition, what I've done now is the second part of the reduction, I suppose you'd call it, and what I've done is actually taken the words, the text, off the block altogether, and done a little work on the second tone. So that goes back into the form, and the colour is, again, I'm after this gold colour, underpainting really, background colour. Again, working with fairly thin layers of quite transparent ink. And so the process continues. So we come to the final key block. It's going to be printed in two colours. First one, a reddy brown, and then I'll work on the block a little and bring it all together with a final very dark brown black. So at last we come to the final printing of this little edition. It's the second colour on the key block, and you can see I've done a reduction, a little work on that, from the brown to finish up with a warm black. Now it's quite important that the turns, Burton pins and tabs do their job, because there's some fine lines on here, and if they're out of register it'll just ruin the whole thing. So hopefully through the process everything has stayed in exactly the same position each time. Same pressure throughout. And hopefully that will be the print complete. So I hope you've enjoyed watching these 3 little videos, and I'll be putting some more up-to-date information on where you can get a hold of these and the bed and the blankets and so on my blog at www.colinblanchard.com. Thank you.